now from the IBA at Winchester, engineering announcements for the radio and television trade.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to the IBA's engineering announcements for the radio and television trade. Today we take another look at local interference to domestic television and radio reception. Pat Hawker talks to Bruce Randall about ways of tackling the problem. In transmitter news, the latest extensions to Channel 4 coverage. And there's information about new relays at Broughton in Scotland, Hope under Dinmore near Leominster, Trevechan in South Wales, and Aveton, Gifford and Dunsford in Devon. But first, Bruce Randall and Pat Hawker talk about local interference.
Well, Pat, we've heard a lot recently about the change of emphasis in the DTI's radio investigation service for people suffering interference to their radio and TV at home. It seems a little bit unfair, doesn't it, that they should have to pay £21 before anybody does anything?
Well, it is unfair in some ways. In the past, the British viewers had a very good service provided by the Radio Investigation Service, but the fact remains that most of the interference that people get on their receivers these days is due to a fault of the receiver and of the aerial installation and so on, rather than any other cause, unless this is a domestic appliance.
So the answer is that the equipment in the home should be better screened to reject the interfering signals.
Very few bits of equipment will be completely screened. This is a problem with video cassette recorders, which are particularly vulnerable to interference from local transmitters, and they do need better screening. But most television sets, you can cure problems quite simply by fairly straightforward filtering.
So it's a question of getting little bits and pieces from the local dealer or getting him to do the job now, in fact.
Yes, well, dealers do provide filters. They always have done. And, of course, there are a set of recommended filters that have been drawn up by the Radio Investigation Service over many years. Things they call the braid breakers, and another type which is a toroidal choke, which you can just wind a few turns of the coaxial cable through it for the feeder, or the mains filtering similarly by putting the cable for the mains lead and turning it round the toroidal core.
Now, it's one thing to have interference to television and radio equipment, but what about audio equipment, which is never meant to receive any kind of RF signal anyway?
Indeed, this is a major problem these days because a lot of the high-quality audio equipment just is not suitable for running in places where there's a high radio frequency signal. Again, this is really a question of the responsibility of the manufacturer, because audio equipment is not designed to receive radio signals. Therefore, if it does receive radio signals, you can say that the design is incorrect and it is up to the manufacturer to do something about it. Of course, problems arise in that case where it's long out of guarantee and the interference doesn't arise until the equipment is quite old, or where it is imported equipment and it is impossible to get hold of the original manufacturer.
Is it really likely, Pat, that radio amateurs are actually operating outside the law? It seems unfair if they are, that the public should have to pay £21 to have their problems investigated.
Well, there are very few cases of radio amateurs operating outside the law. Certainly there are a number of cases in the past where citizens band users have been using much higher power or using AM systems. And in those cases, they are in breach of the Wireless Telegraphy Acts. Just occasionally, and certainly in the old days, you did get cases of amateur transmitters radiating harmonics. And when that happens, it is up to the amateur to reduce the harmonic content of his signals. But these are very few and far between nowadays, and I suspect that well over 95% cases of interference are due to lack of immunity in the television receivers.
Pat Hawker there, talking to Bruce Randall. And the booklet, How to Improve Television and Radio Reception, from which we took our illustrations, should be available about now free of charge from main post offices. Transmitter news now, starting with special announcements. In Gloucestershire, the Chalford relay near Stroud will be on reduced power until next Tuesday and will be off between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. next Monday and Tuesday. This is for aerial maintenance. And today, the relay at Llanrydder in Mochnant in Llwyd will be off until 3:30 this afternoon for electricity board maintenance. This also affects the Llangainog relay in Powys.
Tomorrow, in the West Country, the main transmitters at Huntshaw Cross will be on reduced power between 10 a.m. and midday, with a short interruption at the start and finish of the period, which will also affect the dependent relays. And in North Wales, the Llangollen relay will be off between 9:30 and 4 o'clock for electricity board maintenance. On Thursday, there's more work by the electricity board, which means that in South Wales, Blaenavon will be off between 9:30 and 12:30, and Ferndale will be off between 9 o'clock and midday. Finally, important news for dealers and aerial riggers in North Wales. Next Monday, Moyley Park and Llandonna and all their dependent relays are expected to be off between 9:30 and 11:30 for essential maintenance on the Moyley Park mast. This work is, of course, weather dependent.
New relays next, and in South Wales near Merthyr Tydfil, the Treveccan relay is on the air and due an official service this Friday. It's for about 1,400 people in Treveccan itself and the western part of Gurnos. Some viewers within the service area who are using poor signals from Darlas may need to change to the new relay to avoid local oscillator interference. HTV Wales and TVAM are on channel 42, with S4C on channel 49. Vertically polarised Group B aerials are needed. That's Treveccan near Merthyr Tydfil on the air and in official service from Friday.
Expected on the air this week, in the south of central Scotland, a relay for Broughton. It's for about 340 people in Broughton and the surrounding rural areas. Scottish Television and TVAM will be on channel 24, with channel 4 on 31. Group A aerials will be needed, vertically polarised. That's Broughton, due on the air later this week.
Due on the air in a couple of weeks, the Hope under Dinmore relay near Leominster, which will serve about 240 people in the village. Central and TVAM will be on channel 60, with channel 4 on 53. Group CD aerials will be needed, vertically polarised. That's Hope under Dinmore, expected on in a couple of weeks.
In Devon, another 2 relays are due on the air later this month. The Aveton Gifford relay near Kingsbridge will serve about 400 people in Aveton Gifford and part of the immediate surrounding area, mainly to the south and the west, including North Efford and Waterhead. TSW and TVAM will be on channel 66 near the top of band 5, and channel 4 will be on 47. Group E or W aerials will be needed, vertically polarised. And the Dunsford relay, about 7 miles west of Exeter, will serve about 370 people in and around Dunsford. TSW and TVAM will be on channel 39, with channel 4 on 49. Group E or W aerials will be needed, vertically polarised. That's 2 new relays in Devon, expected on the air in a few weeks' time.
Channel 4 next, and another 2 relays are now on the air. In Hertfordshire, Hemel Hempstead Town on channel 54, and Icombe Hill near Bourton-on-the-Water in Gloucestershire, where channel 4 is on 32. About 6,500 people will benefit from these relays. Expected this week, Ashburton in Devon on channel 31. This relay will bring channel 4 to another 2,500. And due next week, Ludlow in Shropshire on channel 49, Findon near Worthing on channel 47, and Oakley Mind near Bishop's Castle in Shropshire on channel 42.
Well, that's all for this week, except for our address if you have any technical queries on independent radio or television. Engineering Information Service, Independent Broadcasting Authority, Crawley Court, Winchester, Hampshire, SO21 2QA. You can phone us on Winchester, STD code 0962 822 444. And we're sorry, but because of a fault on the line, this number was not available all day last Friday. Join us again next Tuesday, either at 9:15 or 12:15. From everyone at Crawley Court, goodbye until next week.